Hey, Mitch in control. Mitch in control.
Ed, where are you?
Well, I'm in my space capsule. I'm on my way to Mars. I got this on Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, Ed, you got taken for a ride.
No, no,
There's
I
nobody
yeah,
go.
of course I'm getting taken for a ride all the way to Mars.
No, no,
Just like
no,
just like in that
no,
movie Capricorn One.
no, Ed. Capricorn One wasn't real, and there's no mission to Mars.
Yeah,
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 that's
it's real. Just like this spacesuit. I'm heading to Mars. Look, I'll show you. Ready?
Go ahead. Let's just start the show.
Hi, this is Ed Dollister.
And this is Mitch Halleck.
And welcome to another exciting episode of Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure. If it's your first time here, thanks for stopping by. If you've been a regular viewer, thanks for coming back. Mitch, before we start today's topic, how can you find out a little bit about some of the shows that we've got on offer here on the YouTubes?
Oh, Ed, is easy as faking a launch to the fourth planet in the solar system and then having to be saved by Telly Savalas. All you have to do is press the button below and you will be subscribed to Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure and follow us as we go back into the past and talk about TV, movies, toys, and more right here on the almighty YouTube. And while you're there, hit the like button. It improves our algorithms. It makes other people find us. It makes us all feel warm and fuzzy. So, Ed, let's a Capricorn One conspiracy.
That's right, Capricorn. And I think there is a conspiracy because my internet is going really choppy. So I think maybe NASA
It's
or
the government.
the
It's
government is
NASA.
onto us.
They know. They know.
So
You're
we're
like Ellie
going back.
Gould.
Yes, we are going back to 1977/1978. It came out around that time. Capricorn One, a fantastic, in my eyes, conspiracy thriller directed by Peter Hyams. Peter Hyams, who you might know from this.
Outland.
That's right. And we've done a great show on Outland. So one of our most popular, actually. So we'll see if this follows suit. Before I say, have you seen Capricorn One in the movies? I thought I would go to my trusty rating the movies, and let's see what this says of Capricorn One. I'll take off my glasses. Okay. NASA tries to pull off a fake landing on Mars in this rip-snorting action melodrama starring Gould and Brolin. The plot is rather far-fetched, but there's no doubt about the suspense and excitement. A chase sequence with two helicopters and a crop-dusting plane, piloted by Savalas, just may have you on the edge of your seat. Peter Hyams' direction is nicely paced. Also with Brenda Vaccaro, O.J. Simpson, Hal Holbrook, and Sam Waterston. 3 stars, 1978.
See? She liked it because you know what? So did I.
And so did I. Did you see it in the
I
cinemas?
I did see it in the cinemas. I was hungry for space adventures after the summer of Star Wars, and this one hit the spot, as my light does too. So anyway, we've had a problem, Houston. But yeah, I saw it in the theaters. It came from a weird movie company, and I say that because you don't really see a lot of their movies. I think it was called ITC or something like that.
Yeah, it was like, Sir Lou Grade. It was
yeah.
a British co-production, and Lou Grade was instrumental in getting the Muppets up and running.
Oh, well, you know what? You're right, because I remember seeing that logo in front of the Muppets and so. But this is, well, the Muppets would be like a year or so later, I think. Or no,
they were earlier, 76.
76. Okay.
Yeah.
So I did see it in the theaters, and I remember having a grand old time because my mom, 85 years old, has always been slightly wary of the government. And she's like, they don't really know if they landed on the moon with the Apollo 11 and all that. So she was always like skeptical. So lo and behold, here comes a movie that's about that. And Peter Hyams got the idea for this because he worked at CBS News and he covered the moon landing with Walter Cronkite and all the regular news. And he started thinking, what if this was fake? Because the only way we had proof was watching our TV screens and the newspapers telling us it was real. So the imagination started cooking. And he's like, What if it was all staged and faked and on and on and on? And did you know that real life astronaut Buzz Aldrin is not a fan of this movie whatsoever? He he's like, you know what? You're just gonna create more controversy and you're gonna create more,
Yep.
conspiracy nutty people out there because you're saying, look how easy it was to fake this movie, because he was there. He was the second guy to land on the moon, but he did not like what Peter Hyams did to this film. In interviews, he talked about they could have done a better job. They could have done a great movie about going to Mars and exploring, other than coming up with this tabloid news headline stuff. But
Well,
anyway,
incidentally, they did use some of the footage from the movie Capricorn One in a lot of these conspiracy documentaries
yep,
that were trying to oust how easy it was to fake the moon landing.
yeah.
So, yep. So
So
he
did
was
you?
sort of right, I guess.
And I know this movie opened in Australia in 78. Even though I saw it in 77, it took a while to get around the other side of the world. So
Yep.
did you see it in the theaters, or were you too young?
I did not. I was it was I think it was probably it wouldn't have been NRC, it would have been rated M, I think, in Australia for mature audiences.
Yeah.
And I did not see it. I probably saw it maybe 5 or so years later, in the 80s, on VHS.
Okay.
And then it used to be on late at night occasionally, and I
Yeah.
always watched it. And it's a cracker of a thriller. It's
It
one of those
is.
great,
Yeah.
those 70s conspiracy thrillers,
Oh,
or the
yeah,
political.
yeah, yeah. 3 Days of the Condor, All the President's Men. It was
Yes,
conspiracy was the genre of the 70s. No one trusted anybody after
after
Watergate.
Watergate. And the
Yeah.
good thing is, though, it wasn't just like people talking and people in the shadows and everything like
Oh,
that.
it
There
was
was a
an
little bit of
action.
action.
Yeah.
The car chase with Elliot Gould as the investigative reporter. They fix his car, so he's got no
Yeah. The
brakes or
brakes don't
anything.
work. Yeah.
Is
The
is
accelerator's
a
stuck.
fantastic, one of the best car chases in a.
Yeah.
I suppose it's not really even a car chase, is it? Really, it's just
No,
a
no, no,
car.
no. It's this is car out of control. And they repurpose that footage sometimes in other movies because it was so good. They were like,
And I
hey,
can
can we
tell
get
you
a
which they did in
oh,
the Fall Guy, which we've got an episode of that as well.
we
I'll
do.
put it up there.
Oh, when the car goes off the bridge.
I believe so.
Yeah, you're right. That is some of the footage from Capricorn One.
So they had that, and they had the amazing finale where basically we should say, as we've stated, that the astronauts were pulled out of the capsule at the 11th hour. Well,
Yeah,
even
just
closer
before
than that, T
launch. Yep.
minus 2 minutes or what have you,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
were
yeah.
ushered off. The rocket went up, and essentially what they were going to do is hope or
Yeah.
coerce the astronauts to fake that they're on the moon, and then they were going to actually bump them off because
Well, what happens is the everything goes according to plan. Like, it goes up, it goes in orbit around Mars, everything's working fine. But I believe it's on reentry that
that's right.
because they went to the lowest bidder to build the spaceship and all that, and there was all this government funding, and there was a big elaborate behind the scenes stuff. The ship burns up. The capsule that had the crew, if they were in it, would burned up. So the mission control knows about it, and people don't. So now they have to get rid of the astronauts because, well, you can't have the astronauts show up alive and well if you just said the capsule burned up on reentry. So thus begins our drama as
That's
the
right. Because
astronauts have to
also,
fight to survive.
yes, because the astronauts also they don't really want to go along with this because they feel
Yeah.
like it's contradictory to all their training and what they believe. They end up escaping in a
Yeah.
plane. They crash land the plane, or as
Yep.
in the middle of I would say the Mojave Desert, because that's
In
probably the
New
only.
Mexico,
Is
something
that
like
the
that. Yeah, yeah.
so? And then of course they decide to split up. So three of
Yeah.
them to try and find civilization.
Yeah. Yeah.
And basically they don't all make it, unfortunately.
No, 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 no. And you've got Sam Waterston, who's people will know years later. He was on Law and Order forever and a lot of other
QED. Do you
films and
remember
stuff.
that TV show QED? It
No,
only ran for like about 6 episodes. It's worth looking at. Anyway,
no, I didn't remember him from that. But and of course, O.J. Simpson, who became infamous for other reasons. But at the time, he was still athlete and he was just getting into movies. And this was one of his bigger roles. He was in previously The Towering Inferno.
he was.
So he was trying to make a name for himself as an action star as well. And then we've got Brolin, not the son, Josh Brolin, who would be Thanos, but James Brolin, the dad, who I knew from TV shows. I believe it was Marcus Welby. He was
Mhm.
the young doctor on Marcus Welby, which was a show that ran here for years and such. It was a medical drama. So he was just making a name for himself because I had seen him also in a movie called The Car, which might have come out the following summer. It was about a devil possessed uh, car, whatever, hence the title. So anyway, yeah, all three of them get out there, but there's a lot of stars in this movie. And when I mean stars back in the day, Elliot Gould was one of the biggest stars of the 70s. So to have his name up there was a big deal. Hal Holbrook, who was in All the President's Men, he was a
Yes.
standard, tough, I don't know, administration kind of character
Yes.
actor. He'd be in a lot of these roles. He was never like the lead, but he was always, the father figure, the authoritative figure. And he also has been very famous for playing a former Connecticut resident because everything happens in Connecticut. He went on the road for years as
Was
Mark
he Mark
Twain
Twain?
in a one-man show. Yeah, Hal Holbrook did that. But Brolin and the other Watterson and Simpson, they all split up. And then there's, speaking of the car, this is almost like the car because there's these two helicopters that follow these guys throughout this movie, the chase sequence, what has agents, and you never really see them. They're just like these
No.
spectral. It's really cool how they film it. I mean, Peter Hyams did a great job of it. They're just there. They're like Jaws. They're just like the shark, like in the duel with the truck. They just keep coming after these guys. And every time you think they're about to get away, you'll see the helicopters show up. And that's all she wrote for that, too. So it's like you said, edge of your seat. And meanwhile, Elliot Gould's trying to unravel as the investigative reporter
And
what's happening.
he ends up talking to the wives of
yeah,
of
Brenda
the
Vaccaro.
astronauts, Brenda Vaccaro, Karen Black as well.
Karen Black, that's right. I forgot her. Yeah. And
Who originally was going to be Candice Bergen in it, but she pulled out. But they got Karen Black. So there's a lot of high quality actors in this film, and that those aerial sequences. I was reading that the stunt flyer who ended up dying a year or two later in a crash basically said that's some of the most dangerous
elaborate aerial
footage.
stunts
I assume until the previous Mission Impossible, where Henry Cavill and Tom Cruise were doing their own helicopter stunts. But
yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, because there's no CGI back in 1970s. That's a real guy strapped to the side of that World War I barnstorming
with Telly
plane.
Savalas. Did you know that Telly Savalas filmed that role in one day?
Well, yeah, and the other thing is Telly Savalas hated flying, so that's not him in those planes at all. He had a fear of heights. And then you got to remember, Telly Savalas was like one of the biggest TV stars on the planet back in the day. He was a star of Kojak, which was a detective cop show. And he popped up.
Who loves you, baby?
Who loves you, baby? That's right. And then they were even going to get him to show up in Superman, the movie, as a cameo when Superman takes off for the first night. They wanted Telly Savalas to be there outside the phone booth when he comes out in the suit. So Telly Savalas being in this movie, nowadays it might not be a big deal for people, but back in the day, to have him in there was a big clout pull off to have Telly Savalas. Yeah. And
it did really well. It only cost $5 million, but it made I think 12 to 15 million dollars.
That's a lot of money back then.
Yeah, and it was essentially it was an independent movie. So So it did really well. It's got a great score by Jerry Goldsmith, and as well. And it's one of the better conspiracy thrillers.
And it's one of the grossest scenes ever when Brolin eats the snake. He takes this rattlesnake and he kills it and cuts down the middle, and he starts chewing it up to get some protein. And the director was not a big fan of O.J. Simpson's acting. He thought he was a little stiff. And he put a lot of makeup on him. And when he's climbing through the desert and he's trying to get to he's climbing up the side of a mountain, and at the end, well, I'm going to ruin it. The bad guys are waiting for him, but he basically put so much makeup on him. He really couldn't act. He had to act, he couldn't use a lot of facial expressions because he had so much dirt and grime on him and he couldn't move. So he did a good job. Yeah. But
just going back inside the snake, it was raw fish they put.
Oh, I did not know that. I did know that even though it's a movie about NASA and the government, faking a launch and stuff, NASA actually helped them out with the
They did.
suits and the controls and how
Well,
things
that's
work and everything.
thanks to NASA for helping me out here as well. So that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, there's Ed in the suit too. And the other bit is the marketing of that movie. They never said it was really about the Apollo, but it was kind of wink, wink, nod, nod, a little hint, because it said, what if you found out that one of the greatest moments in recent history was fake? And
Yeah.
they showed the sound stage with the lander and the
Yes.
background and the studio lights and the cameras. So one would start to think, oh, wait a minute. Maybe it is about the moon. And they had a great scene when he's coming off the ladder. They would freeze the video so it
Yeah.
looked like there was no gravity, so he would drop slowly to the Mars
Yes.
surface. So yeah, there was a lot of that stuff. But no, I love this movie. I think I might have seen it like once or twice. I know I saw it once, but I think I went back to see it because there was no VCRs, there was no
Correct.
DVDs or any of that stuff. So if you wanted to see it again, you had to go buy a ticket and go back to the theater and
Yes.
watch it all over again.
It's
So
definitely worth watching every couple of years, and
yeah, it aged well. It
it
didn't,
has, it has. And I should say, normally the movies and TV we talk about have a lot of merchandise and things like that. This is a different sort of film. There was, however, two novelizations
oh,
written by different people, interestingly. So one was for the an American
yeah.
audience, and one was for a British audience. I don't think they were actually
Did Alan Dean Foster write one of those?
no,
Oh, he's the guy that usually does all of them.
he does. But
But
that's Capricorn One. There's it's the best thing to do is go out and just watch it if you haven't
I
seen
think you
it.
could watch it on YouTube for free. I think it's
I
everywhere.
think you can, but I'm sure there is a Blu-ray version of it. I
Yeah,
don't know if there's
yeah.
a 4K version,
I
but
don't know about
it
that.
would
But
be
Peter
available on
Hyams,
streaming.
no, Peter Hyams went on to, like we said, Outland. Another movie we have to cover that he did was 2010, the sequel
Yeah,
to
Odyssey 2,
2001.
yes.
That's Peter Hyams as well.
Yes,
He's
he
done a
did
lot of good
Time
movies.
Cop.
Time Cop. I'm thinking, did he do the Sean Connery movie when they went to Russia with Wesley Snipes? Is that Peter Hyams? I might be mistaken.
I don't
But
think so. Did he
he had a very cool career. I don't know why he stopped making films, but he was,
yeah, I think the last one he did was in maybe the early 2000s, was the
oh,
Sound
okay.
of Thunder, which was a Ray Bradbury, but they had issues with they ran out of money
Oh,
like towards the end, so it came out years
yeah,
afterwards with unfinished visual effects. Edward
yeah.
not Edward Norton, Edward, there's another Edward.
Scissorhands.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Edward Scissorhands. I would have remembered that now.
Yeah, you would have.
The real
Ben Kingsley is in it, I can tell you
Ben
that.
King. I didn't want to ruin the end of the movie, but there's almost a slow motion montage I always think of when Brolin comes back, and always
And
reminds
he
me.
comes back at what a perfect timing at his
Oh
funeral.
yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. Well, we just ruined the whole movie for you. Good night, everybody. Don't waste your time watching it. But
No, that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That's all right.
It was.
It's worth watching.
But you know what?
What?
When I saw it, it had people clapping and cheering in the movie.
Yeah.
That's what it was like going back to the movies in the 70s when people actually responded to
Yes.
the on screen as if it was in front, like Jaws, Rocky, Star Wars, and Capricorn One. People would actually applaud and yell, and I don't know, maybe it's a simpler time or simpler
No,
people.
people weren't on their phones during the movie.
They weren't on their phone. No, they actually watched the movie and got engrossed.
Don't talk to me about the family that we at Barbie last night who were behind me, and the baby was just going absolutely crazy. So they gave it a phone to watch some.
Oh no!
During that, it was.
Why even bother?
It was like, and then there was it was like the elephant in Temple of Doom. Keep kidding me.
Yeah. I saw Blue Beetle and Ordway. It was a crowded theater because there was a lot of families and such. Yeah. People behind us were drinking beer. I don't know what happened there, but in our review, we talk about all we kept hearing is like pop tops being pulled and people drinking. And there was little kids behind Jerry Ordway, and they just kept kicking the seat because I kept looking over and see Ordway move. I go, is something wrong? Because this kid is kicking my seat. I'm like, well, move over. But
anyway, maybe
it's
they
fun
thought it was
going to the movies again.
Yeah. It is. Maybe they thought it was Blue Beer Tool.
One day we'll have to do Blue Thunder.
Oh yeah,
that's a John Badham
in our Roy Scheider retrospective.
Roy Scheider, yes, sir. All right, but no, back to Capricorn One. Great movie. Go see it. Get the.
It's worth watching, and you know what else is worth watching? Some of our shows. That's right. How do you find out what they are, Mitch?
Oh, and it is easy as eating a rattlesnake full of fish meat.
I knew you were going to go there.
All you do is hit the subscribe button below, and you too will be subscribed to Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure as we go back into the past and talk about movies you might not have heard of, or maybe want to see, or maybe you should go see before you die. We're the bucket list of bad movies. Well, not bad movies, forgotten movies.
Not all forgotten. We're just of all movies. How about that?
We're the guys.
We're
the guys looking for thousands of views. We'll take a couple hundred. We're not fussy.
10 would be nice occasionally. Anyway,
20.
Yeah. This is Ed Dollister.
And this is Mitch Halleck.
Signing off, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.